Come on in and welcome back to my kitchen. A while ago, I posted this soup on my social media, and a friend of mine asked me to make this soup and teach her how it's been done. So, in this video, I'll be showing you how I make this soup. What you'll be needing is assorted meat. What meat you choose to use is totally dependent on you. However, I believe that the kind of meat you use add or takes away some things from the taste of your stock. This video will really be chilled back and I'll just talk and walk you through what I did. So for the full list of what you'll be needing, please check the description section. I'll leave it right there. This video is really detailed and I'll just need you to watch and while I chit chat with you. So the first thing that I usually do is prep, and I've done this meat prep a million times in most of my soup videos. So I just go ahead and wash my meats. Because I'll be preparing a lot of ingredients, I like to use my glove when handling my meat so that there will be no cross contamination. But if you're for rinsing your hand in between the ingredient prep, then you can do without the gloves. It's just my own personal preference. Once your meat has been washed thoroughly, you go ahead and season it. I use my beef flavored onion powder and then added my chopped onion. This next stage is what I do. I like to really massage my spices into my meat thoroughly so that everything is well coated. And I would not be adding any water at this stage. So me massaging my meat as shown really makes sure that the seasoning gets to all the meat and everything have a fair chance of being well seasoned. So go ahead and transfer this onto your stove top and we shall start cooking. So while the meat is boiling and cooking, I'll go ahead and prep my pepper. So this okra is kind of a mixture of both stew and okra together in my own opinion. So what you'll be using for a regular stew is what you're going to be using in this particular soup as well. The only difference is that I'm not going to make use of tomatoes. These are just peppers. So go ahead and wash it. And remember to deseed your peppers because sometimes it has this big, not sometimes, really, for me, I just, it's a rule of thumb for me to just deseed my red bell peppers. And when I'm in doubt as to the seed, the taste of the seed, I just take everything out to be on the safer side. Moreover, I really don't need the seed. So that is what I'm doing right here. And I just went ahead and removed all the seeds from the peppers. These long peppers, I think they call it long Italian, no, not long Italian, long hot peppers from where I got it from. I don't know what other name it goes by, but that's what I got. So it's just a mix of peppers. So any pepper of your choice that you like, just mix them together. And each pepper brings its own flavor. So that's why I mix the pepper that I use for this okra soup. I don't know why I'm still calling it okra, I guess. Okay, okra. Anyway, whichever one works for you. So what I'm doing right now is just giving it a rough chop so that it will be easy for my food processor to roughly chop them more and then they are evenly chopped in the food processor. So this is what we're going to have at the end of the day. Proceed to process this in your food processor as shown. Now let me tell you something. The first thing I like to do is drop in my peppers like this. I realize when I do this first, instead of putting the little habanero peppers mixed together with the other peppers, that the habanero pepper gets the chance to actually get really chopped up before adding the rather, more chunkier peppers. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what I do. That's my preference. So first, roughly chop your habanero peppers and then add the other pepper and your onion into your food processor and pulse a few times. You do not want this to be fine. You just want a rough chop. So that is what I'm doing right here. Because you want that pepper to come out of the appearance to come out of your okra. You want it to really, show and give it that appealing look. So that's why you will not like blend this to like a very fine texture like you would do a regular stew. Set the peppers aside and then we'll go on to chopping our okra. Now you see that I did not rinse out the food processor because it doesn't really matter. Those little peppers still in the food processor will transfer into the okra. So it's, you know what? Whenever you hear me say okra, they are the same thing. Please pardon me. That's just what I call it, and it's just interchangeable. So my okra that I used is a frozen type, so I had to run some cold water into it. That way, my food processor can handle it better. Have noticed that if I do not do that step, what usually happens is that a lot of it doesn't get chopped the way I want it to be chopped. So better run your frozen okra on that cold water and then do what I'm doing right now. Again, you don't want your okra to be fine. You want it roughly chopped, like chunky, chunky. When you're taking your okra soup, it should be like crisp but still tender. You don't want to turn it to as if you're making ogbono soup, except if that's what you're looking for. But I don't really want my soup to be super slimy. I want it to be chunky and I want it to be crisp and tender. So while that is done, I decided to check on my meat. Remember, we did not add any water to this at the beginning, but see what the meat itself has produced, its own stock. So again, because the turkey I was using is smoked turkey and it has been prepared previously, I'm now taking it out of my meat. I don't want it to be too soft. So what you do is take out any meat that you know is done to your satisfaction and set them aside as shown. Because I do not want my meat to dry out while I'm waiting for the other ones to cook, I just went ahead and cover it up. If you're using a bowl with a lid, then this step will not be necessary for you. But this is what I do. Just make sure you cover it up so that it doesn't get dry while you're waiting for the other meat to get done. So next, I added in my stockfish. While I was making the meat, my stockfish was in a very hot water, already hydrating. And the reason I like to do this is because I do not trust most stockfish or any fish at all I buy from the store, except if I'm getting it from Nigeria myself. So I like to do this because sometimes it's been long in the store, and so it has this funny taste, and also it can be slimy. So me soaking it in water outside, remember, put some salt in that water. Me soaking it in that water will kind of hydrate the fish, and at the same time I'll be able to wash the stock fish properly when I'm ready to add it. So yeah, I topped my contents with some water and then I added a little bit of salt because again you've diluted the stock already. Next, we're going to start to fry our stew. Add palm oil into your pan as shown. So for every pound of okra, I usually use that size of spoon, and I have 3 pound okra, so 3 spoon is enough for it. I think it's about a half cup thereabout. Now you don't want to bleach your oil, you only want it hot. And then I added in my Iru. So this is the signature taste for a typical Yoruba Ila Asepo. This gives it that unique taste. If you do not like Iru, I'm sorry, you probably might not like this too. So I'm going to let that fry and flavor my oil a little bit. And one of the way I know is I just try to, I don't know what I'll call this motion, but you see how my hand is going. I'm just trying to get the smoke to my nose, and you can perceive it already when your oil is flavored. Again, do not over fry and burn this. You just want it to flavor the oil before adding your crushed or chopped peppers as shown. At this stage, all you're doing is just fry like you would a regular pepper sauce, like for stew or so. So just fry it and let this cook some more. Remember to check on your stew from time to time to make sure it's not burning. As that was frying, your meat should be ready at this stage. Once you're okay with the doneness, you need to set this aside and ready to mix everything together. Now add in the stock from the meat to thin out your stew that you were frying, and also to give you some more stock for your soup. And then go ahead and add in your meat as shown. Another reason that I like to hydrate my stockfish outside before adding it into my meat is that I get the chance to remove every bone that is in between the side of the stockfish. So that is another advantage for me doing that. At this stage, your soup should be smelling so nice, and the look of it should be making you so proud. Now I'm still going to add some stock to about the same level as all the content of the meat in the pot. So I have a lot of soup. Next thing I'm going to do is to turn my crayfish into kind of a slurry. I do not just like pouring my crayfish into the stock like that, because sometimes it settles down the pot and then your soup will start boiling. So I like to mix in the stock with the crayfish and turn it into kind of a slurry like that, so that the powder, the crayfish powder, will have something to hold on to before it gets into the soup itself. So that's another trick that I do with my crayfish. Because trust me, if you've been cooking with crayfish powder and you just sprinkle it into your soup, you realize that sometimes your soup will start burning, and that's not a nice thing. I add in a little bit of dry ground pepper for its kick. Every pepper has a unique taste, and dry pepper just takes this soup to another level. Now you're going to allow this to simmer. See all those oil floating on top of it? It will kind of mix with the water and change its color. You're going to see what I mean in a bit. After some minutes of boiling and simmering, this is how the soup will look. You see, the oil is no more floating on top of the stew. Now it is well combined with water, and it's now time for us to go ahead and add in our okra. You already know that I like to add in some chopped onions into my chopped okra when I'm making okra soup. So that was just what I did behind the camera. I'm sorry I don't have the footage for that. So while the other stew and the meat were boiling after I chopped the okra, I just went ahead and added some of the red onion chopped into the okra itself. So just try to combine everything like I am doing. Now, okra soup does not need to, once you add this okra, it does not need to stay on it for a long time because you're trying to achieve that crisp yet tender texture from your okra, and you want that color to be vibrant as well. So I'm just going to allow this to cook for a little bit. Now I'm not going to talk about the time because if you're using a frozen okra versus if you're using a fresh okra, the time will be different because they are both going in with different temperature. A frozen okra will be cold while a fresh okra will be still be at room temperature. So the time it will take for a fresh okra to get done will be shorter than the time it will take the frozen okra to heat up. I personally like to add in my dry fish at the end of adding my okra because all those mixing you do during adding okra might make your fish disappear. You won't even know that you have dry fish in that soup. But that's just me. You can decide to put it before your okra or after putting in your okra. Don't worry, it was hydrated, so that fear of won't it still be raw, it's not there. To quickly bring up the temperature of the okra up, I do this under high heat once I'm adding my okra in. Let me share another trick to what I do. If this okra soup was supposed to be eaten immediately, what I like to do is while after chopping my okra, I add a little bit of seasoning into my okra to kind of marinate and get deep into the okra itself. But because in this video I'm making this to store and put in the freezer, I didn't do that. But if you know that you want your okra to taste better and you do not want to have to cook your okra for a long time on stove top, all you have to do is that. Just add a little bit of seasoning into your okra before adding it into the soup itself. I love to add in the dark green vegetables like ugu, spinach, and all that because it has this appealing contrasting color between the dark green and the light green color from the okra itself. But if you do not want to add any leaf, you can skip this step too. But I just feel like it is more prettier when you do this. The amount you add is obviously dependent on you. This is what works for my family, and even the thickness of my okra, this is what works for us. If you want it to be a little bit, you know, a little bit toned down, not this thick, you can go ahead and add the water you drained out from the spinach itself into it, or just regular water. Yeah, this water you can add it in if you want to thin it down, but I don't want it. I just like my okra like this. Once everything is added, because I'll be storing, you will just go ahead and put this into a bowl. At this stage, I'm just testing to see if they need any more seasoning. So I just added it right now. So this is the amount kind of seasoning you can add into your okra while you're cooking your meat and your stew, if you know you want to have your okra immediately after cooking. Like I said, mine will still stay in the freezer, so it will get the flavor from everything mixed together while it's in the freezer for another day consumption. So there you have it, friends. This is exactly how I make this super delicious okra soup. You see, I do not even wait for it to get so done before quickly transferring it into a bowl to stop the cooking process. And trust me, when you bring it out the next day or whenever you want to have it, it will still have this color and this vibrant and crisp and tender texture to it. I hope this video was helpful or is helpful. I tried my best, but I told you it's going to be a chit chat kind of video, and that's just what I had to do in this. Until next time, when I see you again, let's learn and cook together. Bye bye.